Hey, what's going on, ballers? Week 36 in 2020 is about to hit. So hope you guys are kind of reviewing your business plans, reviewing your week, reviewing your quarter, and kind of executing on what you have planned for this week. One of the reasons I'm in this frame is because I run an inner circle program in which I help coach like basketball trainers, fitness trainers, stuff of that nature, kind of startup entrepreneurs looking to get into some of the business process frames and then how they could utilize digital marketing. And one aspect of that, or one bonus on top of that, is that I do some marketing reviews, marketing strategy funnels on top of that. So if you guys have heard of PJF Performance, who runs a podcast, does kind of athletic peak performance type drills, and then really focuses on his niche of vertical jump training, this particular video is going to cover a snippet of that, in which I review his YouTube SEO strategy, his SEO strategy, how he fits into the bigger picture of his digital marketing overall funnel and content. And so this particular snippet is just one of the few trainings you'll get in the Inner Circle program, on top of a plethora of other content I put out there for the people inside. So I hope you guys enjoy this video, and I'll see you after the video with a short takeaway. Let me kind of go into more of some of the stuff I saw that I really wanted to focus on. So one of his SEO searches, if you just search for his direct Instagram, you could kind of see he's getting 390 searches per month. And then you could see here on these other ones, people are looking up, trying to see, is his performance good and stuff like that. So one thing I would say that I identified a SEO opportunity for you guys is definitely in his vert code. So in the vert code, it has 1,000 searches per month, which is definitely good for him because he's appearing at the top. But if we were to kind of take a step back and look at some of these other things, vert code reviews, vert code Reddit, stuff like that, basically it's an opportunity for you guys to either make a video where you could get reviews. People want to get reviews of this program that they're about to buy. There's definitely a space in like affiliate marketing, and or just kind of quote unquote siphoning some of the Google search traffic that he has, or even just making another product called similar to the vert code, maybe has similar keyword searches. Like, I'm not going to say like exactly make a new product called the vert code, but there's definitely an opportunity here where you could use this Google SEO traffic to kind of, siphon some of the traffic to some of your own branding. So one of the things that I wanted to go next into is a particular YouTube video that I had brought up. Let me see if I could get up here. So if we just sort by the most popular, you can see here he has like the science-based volleyball vertical jump training. Interesting, he uses like the volleyball one. But this particular one, which was made 2 years ago, and if we go into it,
near full hip extension.
Let me stop the audio. So it's interesting to kind of see one from all this million views that he has here, we could see that he let me get my markers set up. So in the million views he has here, he has the direct affiliate links right to his PJF Performance at home. Another thing that I kind of recommend you guys do is utilize that. And then a thing that I think is interesting is if you go and sort by the newest comments, you can see that even in an evergreen type of material, he's still getting comments months and months ago of just people finding him, leaving comments, stuff of that nature. So a million views and kind of siphoning some of that traffic, he's definitely building his Instagram and or just brand awareness by continually having some of these longer form contents. So one of the things as a key takeaway from at least some of the marketing review there is that, you may be seeing him from like Instagram, but you could see on some of the back end of the content that he's made, he definitely has a type of approach where he's looking to, make longer form content on YouTube and then repurpose. So let me put my headphones in so we don't get audio feedback. But what I wanted to do was just literally kind of just watch some of his Instagram content, because I think that would really help solidify for you guys some of the different styles and approaches. So here, this is a particular one that's linked in the whiteboard. We can see, let's just take a look and then I'll give my comments.
Regardless of the goal, we're gonna want pretty high protein. Like if I'm trying to build muscle, I need high protein. But if I'm trying to lose fat, people are like, oh, well, just decrease calories. Well, no, we want high protein. Some studies would suggest that we want even higher protein than if we were just trying to build muscle. And so that's obviously the biggest mistake when they hear, oh, fat don't fly, you know, let's go lose a bunch of fat and get athletic. Well, you're probably stripping down muscle mass along with it if your protein isn't high and you're not prioritizing strength training. And so now you lost a little bit of fat, but you lost muscle and your force production went down. So your relative force production did not actually increase. And so now you're smaller, you're skinny fat, and you're less athletic. And so I was talking to Dr. Bubbs the other day, and he's like, look, we want to diet on as high of calories as possible. So like, how much calories can we eat and still lose weight? That's where we want to be. And that's why that's going to allow us to not, regardless of the goal.
Okay, so let's just kind of break down some of the elements that I saw when I was watching that. So one, this particular, this area right here that he's putting, it comes directly from his PJF podcast. And I don't know if you saw as he was talking, but he later turned it to an image saying to go to his podcast. So I think that's a really cool thing that you should be utilizing is, again, this idea of document and don't create. So what that does is, as he's making his podcast, he's like, hey, what are some elements that I could take away from this and post onto maybe social media platforms, smaller short form content, and then it could lead people to the longer form content. So I've talked about that before when I encouraged people to do, make a podcast and then pivot over. So I'm just going to kind of do a high level draw out again, just to really solidify just what I've been talking about. So let's take his example where he uses a podcast. It could be anywhere from, 10 to an hour. So one thing he's doing is he's recording it on video and then he's sharing maybe a evergreen content or a value nugget. Purposely, I think what people do is they try to pride themselves. If this is the content I want to make, how can I make specific content that could be leveraged later on? So that particular portion was talking about how you should have your type of diet. And the Dr. Bubbs he referenced said to have a high calorie as possible, but still lose weight. So that was like his main value nugget that he pulled out. And then what he did with that is that because it's a video podcast, you're recording the video plus the audio. All he really has to do is, the particular video isn't that interesting, right? It's
we're gonna
him speaking on a podcast. So, even if you go to the podcast, no one's like seeing the audio and stuff like that. But what he does then is he just repivots and puts some of this, training montage video, almost like Rocky, maybe some content of him drinking protein. He might be sponsored from some protein. I shake people. Let's see, yeah, right here, the upper echelon nutrition. Right, so he has a sponsorship over there. And really, going from, video from audio, right? He's able to retake this content, repurpose it, and then put it on an Instagram platform where, you're not going to get people buying into watching in 10 minutes to an hour of their time until you establish, trust and value and like a rapport with the person, right? The same way that you guys are in the inner circle and maybe I have a little shorter form content, maybe I have longer form content. So we hop on our live calls. But for the most part, some of them I'm just dropping some dimes of like, hey, here's some Instagram posts. Here's a quick analysis. Here's, I showed you some of the Instagram ads I got and kind of my views there. So this one in particular is like, really action packed lesson that I put during the off weeks that I'm not syncing one-on-one with you guys. And so this one's just going to be all strategy, all my takes, all my content, stuff like that. And I'm really just going like deep, like just lesson after lesson after lesson, right? So basically, with that mindset in place, right? You always want to have short form. It's like a funnel, right? I've always said it, right? The short form content is always at the top, right? This is like a minute to 5 minutes on IG. Let's take a look at, this
pretty high.
Oh, it doesn't even tell me. Oh, look, he has, okay, so it's a minute and then he uses like multiple, right? So this particular one was a minute long. And then he's well, he's 2x, so it's 2 minutes. And then the aim of it is to get people to listen to the whole thing on his podcast, right? And on the podcast, if you guys listen in there, he's got some biggest diets and steaks, all this stuff like that. So it's more like trying to listen to you. He probably gives shout outs to either his sponsorship, but also his YouTube videos. And if you go on his YouTube directly, he even has the YouTube version of it as well, right? So that's another way of like kind of having your cake and eating it too, right? Not only can he get people from Instagram to his podcast, but also they possibly could be viewing his podcast on YouTube because he makes it a video podcast, right? So I know some people are simply just trying to get to a market of just having people listening on audio and in cars and stuff like that, but you might as well just buy a video camera and record it at the same time. There's little elements of just editing that you could kind of pick up quickly. I've kind of taught you guys in some of the OBS training materials, some of my online YouTube videos. And even at the end of this video, I'm going to kind of go into kind of some basic OBS podcast setup yourself so that if you're trying to launch your podcast, I know some of you have put that as your goals. We're going to get there. All right. So then, pivoting back to the marketing funnel, right around here, he probably considers selling people, right? Here, in terms of how he monetizes his audience, he probably does a standard structure where he does, no time commitment, but just, evergreen products. So these are his courses. I showed you on his thing, he had like 3 of them. And then eventually, as you go down the funnel, right, I should probably rewrite this as like, $1 here, because eventually there's a certain time when it's going to start involving his time, right? He could make money off everyone by just making this scalable content, making videos, right? But then as you start wanting to be his trainer, start working with him, stuff like that, well, obviously he should charge more money, right? He showcases that he worked with James Harden. He's worked with several professional athletes. So some of that is going to take some time. But the cool part about that and the whole idea of his document and not create is that, at least from some of the stuff I saw with like James Harden, let's go into kind of, here's James Harden right here, just like part of his podcast picture, right? The whole idea is that even with these people that he's charging top dollar for, right, this lowest level, he's still recording it and he can always repurpose it later. Right. So his podcast is maybe like instructional and giving information directly to the people listening. But the way that I've seen most people repurpose is if we take a look back at some of these posts, like this is an here's another podcast one, right?
Regardless of the goal, right, we're going to want pretty high protein. Like if I'm trying to build muscle, I need high protein.
Right. So these are just pictures of people working out. But if he ever puts like here, this is probably some of his clients, right? So one thing I would recommend is, just take footage of B-roll footage. That's what the concept is called, where maybe he has some footage of him working out with James Harden. Maybe he has some of that stuff. He's not saying, hey, James Harden, let me record something that I'm going to give to the mass media, right? Because he values James Harden's time or whoever his clients are, but he just uses it as B-roll and then overlays on top of it what you were hearing in the audio, which was his podcast content. Hey, what's going on? I hope you guys enjoyed that little snippet from the PJF Performance. So that's one of the few things you will get in the inner circle. Really just wanted to do a short little spiel here of what it is, what to expect. So for the most part in this ballers group, I've never really done like a hard sell, but we're getting into September, and I know some people are sending me DMs of like, hey, how do I like kind of structure my year, or how do I think about my business and stuff like that. So we're about to hit, in October Q4. So we're running on the last month of Q3. And for then, I really want you guys like analyzing of how big businesses do their annual reports or quarterly reports, and really think like this is the last month you guys to really review what have you guys done for Q3, what have you done to push the needle in your business. And some of this mindset frame stuff is like stuff I learned from my co-founder, Jim, who recently just sold his company. So he really, like, I'm kind of blessed to have had some insight kind of watching him grow his business and some invitations he sent me to and some of the introductions he did with other like I don't even consider myself like a real entrepreneur, like the real business owners who are like really growing and scaling their business. But, with the inner circle, I recently pivoted it 2 months ago and had been testing with this group I have of how that content could be helpful. So basically on even weeks, so this is week 36 and then the next week will be week 38, we do one-on-one calls where I review your business plan, I review your quarterly plan, and I review your week plan. And I say, okay, so based on what you said you want to do for your business, what are you going to do this week, and what are some stretch goal, or not, like this week compared to the whole of your plan. And for the most part, most people, we just do monthly plans because some people haven't really fully structured their business mission statement and stuff like that. But so in a week plan, we try to implement stuff. I don't know if you've read the book, like How Google Works or the 10X, but basically there's this idea, you'll see it a lot of different marketing terms, but it's basically called moon shooting, where in order for people to be inspired to hit bigger metrics, you could kind of visualize and plan for like 10x results. And according to Google, they usually hit like 3x results, but it's just a little psychology trick that they do. And I try to help frame that with the goal setting we do monthly with the people in the inner circle, business owners, stuff like that. So we do that on the even weeks, and then on the odd weeks, we do kind of group training where I put out content based on some of the feedback I'm hearing from the one-on-one calls. I teach them, what they need in their business for that month. So sometimes it's Google SEO, sometimes it's YouTube SEO, stuff of that nature. And then we have a group call on the odd weeks where we review, hey, how's your month going? And then typically at the end of the week, we're going to have one today at 9 p.m. Eastern. We're going to say, okay, did you hit your goals you wanted to hit? What were some of the blockers that prevented you from accomplishing what you set out? And then kind of plan for the next week. So hopefully, it's the program where sometimes I review some of their Instagram, stuff like that. It really gives them intimate time to kind of connect with me, kind of pick my brain. So if you guys are kind of looking, seeing some of my stuff, kind of curious, like, okay, whoever this guy is, Al Neferetti, like, has some kind of platform or whatever, right? I don't know what you guys know about me, some of the consultants I had, such as like David Nurse, J Law, UFC fighters, stuff of that nature. Like, kind of how did I start, and or how do I continue, or what do I'm thinking about of how I grow? If these are just things you're curious about, maybe you're thinking like, hey, there's someone I know who's a startup in my city or in my area, like, and I always look up to him and think of like, what is this guy doing? How is he structuring his stuff? At least from some of the stuff I've had experience with, maybe I could help kind of build your confidence to ask that person yourself, and or kind of just break down some of the general trends I've seen in kind of this entrepreneur startup world, and how you could implement it for yourself today, even if you don't have an official business or LLC, and just like look to grow. So that's really what I'm looking to aim. If you guys are curious about, what this is all about, why do I put some of this content out, and kind of even in the circle, I've broken down my own marketing strategy, stuff of that nature. Maybe you're already advanced in marketing and or business plans. You just want to improve your ROAS or your click-through rates, stuff like that. That's also something I help with as well. And I typically put it from a data analytics mindset. So, just one quick spiel about me. I'm studying, getting a master's in data analytics, but some of the kind of my passion points is like really seeing like, what does the data show? What can we predict what your customer segmentation will do? And then how can we run ads to validate that? And that's really what it's all about for me. It's like, okay, what's your data showing? How can we test it? What did the data say? And how can we adjust and optimize your model so that we can get better performance from, whatever your business process is? And I tend to focus on the digital marketing aspect, but I try to apply that framework to like, some people have the sales processes and or their lead generation. There's other aspects such as like their digital ads and stuff like that. So you want to wrap up this like short little spiel. There's going to be a link, and or you can DM me if you have any questions. I also offer kind of some Zoom calls just as like a little get to know you. That's 100% free. If you guys haven't hopped on that as well, being part of the Ballers group. And then I guess another quick spiel, one of my clients, if you guys are like straight basketball, I would recommend you guys get into Jordan's Trainer's Guide to Success. So I'm actually in that program. I help make some of the website content, stuff like that, or at least teach people how to set up some of the evergreen like assets for their revenue streams. So when I started making some of the content there, that kind of gave me the idea to do what I'm doing right here in the Ballers group, because I had made some of these content like, oh, how to do camera, stuff like that, how to set up your website. And people were like, hey, you should like make your own course or make your own product. And so that's really why I pivoted into like just strictly focusing on kind of basketball, sports niche and stuff like that. So just a quick little update on that. Like I'll leave a link to Jordan's program as well. He focuses more on like the mindset of a trainer, how to do drills, how to get better at your drills, stuff of that nature. So it's about 11 months worth of content in Jordan's program. And it's really good. And you know, apparently I'm in that program as well. Also make some content there. So that is what I got. Hope you guys are enjoying this week 36 Sunday. And yeah, 1 month left in Q3. Gosh, didn't stick the landing, but hope you guys are enjoying, and yeah, continue crushing it. I hope you guys you know, set big goals for yourself this month in September. Hope you guys crushed your August goals, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next Ballers video. Take care.